lesson 2.6 is all about rational functions and how to graph them. A rational function is a function that consists of a fraction. When you're graphing them, you have to watch out because there are places in the function where x is undefined because they make the denominator 0. So if you think back to when we were doing domain, and if it was a fraction, we had to set the denominator equal to 0 to figure out what numbers we could not put in there because that would make the function undefined. That's still going to play a role, and it's actually going to play a role as we're trying to figure out our vertical asymptotes. So vertical asymptotes would be somewhere on the line, somewhere on your graph, sorry, where there's a vertical line that the graph does not cross. It could be something like this. Who knows? Something where it's not crossing that dotted line though. They're found at x values that make the denominator equal to 0. Not zeros. The undefined values for x may either be vertical asymptotes or sometimes they're just holes. So sometimes when you have your graph, you may think you need a vertical asymptote at -2, but really it's just going to be a hole there where your graph's going to go like that and then kind of jut up. So do check your graph to decide if it's going to be an asymptote or a hole. To find them, you're just setting your denominator equal to 0 and solving. Whatever you get for your answer is your vertical asymptote. So take a minute and try with both of these to find your vertical asymptotes. Go ahead and pause this and do that. And now that you have done that, like it said, you're just setting your denominator equal to 0. So x plus 7 equals 0 is going to give me x equals -7. That should be my vertical asymptote. And when I graph this all the way over here at -7, I should have a dotted line just like that, where it never crosses. So when you graph it on your calculator, if you want to go ahead and do that, you can see that your graph looks like this. Comes a little bit closer there. Where it never actually hits at -7. Now there's obviously not going to be a dotted line showing up, so you will always need to draw that dotted line to show me where your asymptotes are. On the second one, it's not quite as pretty, but I still follow the same process. So I have 2x cubed equals 1, so x cubed equals 1/2, and then I'm going to have that x is equal to the cube root of 1/2, which is about 0.794. And if you look at your graph, there's an asymptote right about at 0.7, 0.8. It's kind of hard to tell unless you zoom in exactly where that is. That's how you find vertical asymptotes for your rational functions, just setting the denominator equal to 0. The other type of asymptote is a horizontal asymptote. Sometimes your rational functions have those as well. These are your rules to follow, where n is the degree of the numerator. So you might have like x to the n, ... who knows what else. And on the bottom, x to the m. And we're looking for that highest number for the top and bottom. If n is less than m, so if it is bigger on bottom, because the m is more, then y equals 0 is your horizontal asymptote. I'm going to call that yo-bob, because it's y equals 0 when it's bigger on bottom. If they're the same, the highest exponent is the same for both your top and bottom, then you are just looking at your coefficients out front. So there's not a fun little saying for that. That's just looking at the coefficients. If n is more than m, so n was on top, so if it's bigger on top, and that's the coefficient, that's no-bot, because there is no horizontal asymptote. So yo-bob and no-bot are my shortcuts to help me remember this. If I look at this, looking at the highest power in the top is right here with this 1, bottom is the 1 as well. So they are equal, so I'm looking at their coefficients. So my horizontal asymptote is going to be y equals, and 3 over 1, which just is y equals 3. That is my horizontal asymptote. And if you look at that graph, it looks something like this. This is not a world's most amazing graph. And actually, there seems to be a vertical asymptote right there as well if you look at your graph, which should be a vertical asymptote when I set this equal to 0 at x equals 2. So that would be my vertical asymptote. So that's at 2. This is my horizontal asymptote. You cannot just say a vertical asymptote at 2. The vertical asymptote is at x equals 2, that whole line. And same for the horizontal. It needs to be y equals 3, not just 3. Down here on G, my highest exponent on top is a 7. The highest one on the bottom is a 4. So it's bigger on top, which is no bot. So there are no horizontal asymptotes. Okay, that is really all we are doing for this section. Make sure you bring your books with you tomorrow and bring your notes with you.